Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin and Rugby Preview Show on our YouTube channel. Please be sure to hit that like and or subscribe button if you can. Joining me this week is someone earning Harpin cap number 15. Welcome back to Mr. Hugo Gordon.
Hi Jeff, thanks for having me back.
Not too bad. It seems like you've been done more than 15 at this stage, but listen, it's definitely been going well so far. But before we go to the main match, obviously, we're switching gears from Leinster to Ireland now this week, but maybe you just give us your quick thoughts on Leinster's season so far.
Yeah, I guess it's not been pretty, but it seems like it's kind of getting the job done. We've had, I think we're on 11 straight wins now, which after the first four games when we were lost three from four was isn't too bad. I don't think anyone would say that we've been the most convincing looking that we've ever looked, but we're getting the results, and as long as we're kind of gearing up and getting it right at the right end of the season, then I don't really mind how we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure, obviously, non-Leinster fans will be going, God, they're moaning about how they're winning 11 in a row, but we know what we mean. That's our excuse, and we're sticking to it. It's not been something we're used to, but hopefully we'll be able to keep up this. If we do have to come back, we're able to do it later in the season when it really counts. Okay, so listen, let's turn our attention now to our feature match of the week, which is, of course, France v Ireland in round one of the 2026 Guinness Six Nations. It's taking place at the Stade de France on Thursday, February the 5th. I hate saying Thursday, but this is what we must do. It's kicking off at 8:10 p.m. Irish time with TV coverage on Virgin Media 1. Ireland named their matchday squad on Tuesday morning. If you're watching on YouTube, it should be right there on the screen, or for pod listeners, it's in the program notes. Now, Hugo has picked out some points from this team, starting with injuries and changes.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the first thing to say is for a big game, this is probably the most new look Ireland team we've had for a while, and that's partly down to injuries, but not solely down to injuries. So the likes of Jeremy Loughman, Michael Milne, Cian Prendergast, Jacob Stockdale, all in the 23, who have had relatively little to no Six Nations experience, at least in recent years. It's the first time Stockdale even has started a Six Nations game apparently since 2021, I think. And of those, Cian Prendergast is probably the only one that isn't injury enforced. And we obviously have a nightmare injury crisis in the front row. We're missing something like five fullbacks as well. The injury situation is what it is. But even the kind of the Cian Prendergast choice, it was an interesting one. I don't think it's one that people necessarily saw coming. James Lowe, sorry, Stockdale as well. I mean, in Stockdale's case, James Lowe hasn't been in particularly good form. I didn't think that was too much of a surprise, but plenty of people who could have gone in at six. We could have seen Byrne there. We could have seen Conan there. We could have seen even Doris there. It's happened before, but I think it's a real vote of confidence in a young player. I think the one notable absence, I guess, in terms of who we might have seen is Edwin Adogbo. There were pretty strong rumours that he was going to be in for this one. I actually think Prendergast being picked at six meant that we probably weren't going to see Adogbo. That was always likely to mean Byrne was playing at five, which meant that Ryan was always likely to be on the bench, which meant that we were always likely to not see Adogbo. Really hoping to see him next time. He's a very exciting player. But look, it'll be a baptism of fire for these guys, but I'm actually very excited by it. These are some really good players. Some of them have been very unlucky that we haven't seen more of them in recent years. And they'll be chomping at the bit to take this opportunity. And I'm just really, really looking forward to seeing what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the okay, we put the front row thing aside. I mean, that was, like you say, that was enforced. That's going to be, it is what it is. And we just you never know what these players are going to do when they get into the top the top of the Six Nations. The occasion could be the making of them. They are used to high level matches anyway, so we'll see how they get on. But elsewhere, it does look like that they're not just putting the best team out and filling in where they can. There does seem to be a plan. They're going into this game with a certain strategy in mind. They've obviously got the 6-2 bench. But like the likes of Cian Prendergast and all, so it is good that they do seem like they're having a go with this lineup. So Jamie Osborne at fullback, like you say, there's loads of different ways they could have gone. It's Hugo Keenan is practically irreplaceable. He had a horrible luck just coming back from an injury, and then to do his thumb the way he did. But listen, they have to make the best of it. And one name I see there is that I think totally belongs. And I've Stu McCluskey at 12. I think he had a really good November, and he didn't really do anything to not keep his place, kind of thing. No matter who was injured or who was coming back, and I'm happy to see there, and have no problem in playing there. So we'll look forward to seeing how they get on. But like you say, just your second point is kind of an expansion on that, but it's focusing more on that front row.
Yeah, so I think the front row, could cost us here. France's front row has its own problems, and we'll kind of come to that in a minute. But we are down to our fourth and fifth choice loose head props. We are missing Tadhg Furlong. I mean, in the case of Lockman and Milne, both good players in their own way. Lockman, the stronger scrummager, which I think is why we've gone with him at the start, and then Milne, probably better around in open play. But they're very untested at this level. It's a huge jump, and I just think it's going to be a bit too much. But I will say that, this is still a strong team. And I think it is important to not kind of overdo the, woe is us, we're going to be torn asunder kind of thing. A lot of really, really good players still in this team. Some of them, some of the best players in the world. Dan Sheehan is still in this team. Joe McCarthy and Tadhg Beirne are still in this team. Caelan Doris and Josh van der Fleer are still in this team. And the kind of, you look at the back line, and even you mentioned Stu. He hasn't necessarily always been an Ireland mainstay, but he's been incredibly good. I don't think he's ever had a bad game for Ireland, and he really, he deserves his place. So I think it is important that we not overdo the kind of the negativity. I think it's important that we not overdo the idea that this is a wildly weak Ireland team. It's still in many ways stronger than many teams who would have been fielding a decade or so ago. But I think the reality is that it's not just that we have, plenty of injuries, but we've got them in some really key positions. Obviously our front row has not been our strongest area, scrum issues in particular. So I think it'll cost us, and I do think it'll probably be the losing of this game. But look, we're going to be there to compete. There's no inherent reason we can't win this game. Other than the opposition, which we'll come to shortly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we will. I suppose we will be kind of cringing in the early stages when you start having the scrums. So that is kind of inevitable. But listen, it is something we've seen. We've seen Leinster do it before. We've seen Leinster struggle in one particular area, get really played off the park in one area, but still win because they've done well in others. So it is possible. It's not like the old days where we got totally crunched by England at Twickenham because we couldn't keep the scrum up. But so it is possible to do that. And I do like the bench, the options coming off the bench. There's a lot of experience coming there. Conan, even Beelum in the front row, James Ryan, Nick Timoney does a really good job when he plays for Ireland as well. Casey Crowley, there's a lot of Kelleher, there's a lot of names there that can come on and so give us a full 80 minutes. So there is a lot more optimism that we might have thought. But now we should probably move on and take a quick look at our opponents. France haven't had everything their own way since taking the Six Nations title last year. Judging from the squad they took to New Zealand, they didn't seem too bothered to lose all three tests, which they duly did, although they did compete well at times down there, to be fair. But then they lost to the world champion Bucks in November before getting back to winning ways against Fiji and the Wallabies. They are actually ranked one place behind Ireland at the moment, but what do you make of their lineup?
Yeah, so I mean, they've had some disruption of their own. They've had a few absences, some really surprising squad selections, actually, likes of Gail Ficou, Gregory Aldred, and Damien Penaud, probably most surprisingly not featuring in the initial squad. Then the likes of Thibaut Flamand, for example, dropping out. And then, just a few days ago, the really terrible news that Winnie Antonio had to retire following his recent heart attack. Really hope he's okay. He's a much loved player, even outside of France. But they have been dealing with, a fair amount of disruption themselves. But, if anyone has a talent pipeline to deal with, it is France. Their kind of conveyor belt of talent is absurd. And if you look at some of the players who've come into the team, the likes of Tio Atasogbe on the wing, for example, who's come in for Penaud, the likes of Mikhail Guillard, who's come in the second row. Despite both being very young, they both played in last year's Six Nations and they both looked really, really good. And their stars only can continue to rise since then. I think a lot of us looked at that squad list when it kind of first got announced and kind of went, oh God, the amount of talent in that team is absurd. And obviously Antoine Dupont back just in time again for the Six Nations. And you look at the form of some of these players in France, in Europe, and you have to wonder whether it's going to be a bit of a long day. But there is a lot of inexperience in this team. There are some very, very young players in this team, including on the bench as well. And it is a fairly different side than we would have seen, this time last year. And that means there's going to be some kind of chopping and changing they're going to have to do. And that means some players who aren't going to be that used to playing with each other. And I'm actually pretty glad that if we were going to have to play France, we're playing them now. First up, when they haven't had a bit of time to gel. We've seen France in recent years kind of sometimes start a bit slowly and then grow into the tournament. We saw that last year a little bit where they got surprised by England early on. By the end of this tournament, I'm fully expecting them to be the kind of the full Death Star. We just need to hope the Death Star isn't yet fully operational, I think.
Yeah, they can. If they're going to slip up, they can do it against us in the first game, and then run rampage over the rest of the tournament.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we've been following France enough and watching so many Six Nations over the years that we know well enough that when you see that they're leaving out players like Fico, Aldrit, and Peno, some people go, "Oh, that's a good thing." No, that's not a good thing. That means they got better players coming in for them, like Deporter in the center as well. I mean, it's just like you say, it's an amazing conveyor belt. But like you say. They can be got at. We've got to remember the last time we played them in Marseille. We were reminded today in our WhatsApp group about the great day in 2018. So it can be done, and that's just the way the guys got to go out, and that's what I want to see from the Ireland team, that they go out from the start, believing that they can do it, because it definitely can be done. Okay, so a quick look at the officials there. It's Carl Dixon holding the whistle with the very varied nationalities there assisting him. The weather in Paris on Thursday evening is occasional rain and drizzle, but 2/3 chance of rain, not a whole lot of wind, relatively mild, 9 degrees, so it should be a nice enough evening in Paris. But this is now where we look at some other matches this weekend. Now, we're going to start with this other game that's taking place in Thomond Park on Friday. It's an Ireland 15. A lot of interesting names in there, Hugo.
Yeah, I actually really like this squad. Really young, a few cap players, but not many in there. It is led by Max Deegan. Glad to see the Max Deegan All Stars going green. But there's some really fun players and some players I'm really keen to see how they do. We've got JJ Kenny and Zach Ward on the wings. Amongst others. But there's a few really there's a few young players in the pack that I'm particularly excited to see how they go. One is Billy Bowen of Connacht, who all of a sudden seems to have been kind of the spotlight's really on him from the Irish coaching staff. You got Bryn Ward at 7, who has been tearing up trees for Ulster this season. He's been playing mainly at 8 for them there, but his future might well lie at 7 in Ireland if he can kind of make a stamp there, given our needs there. And then Brian Gleeson at 8, superstar at underage level already. He's so important to the Munster team. He is maybe one of the young players now, and I'm most excited to see over the next few years. So yeah, win or lose doesn't really matter with these games. You want to see how these players go, and I'm really looking forward to see how they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Kieran Frawley actually almost forget what putting on a 10 jersey is like. But it's a bit of shame on Harry Byrne. I'm assuming that what they've done is, the way they bring one back and one forward with them in the squad, just in case. I'm thinking maybe Adogbo is the other one that they brought. I don't know, but it's a shame we're not going to, get a look at them this weekend. But still, it is a very, very interesting squad altogether. And of course, we're playing on Thursday. Of course, this is on a Friday night, the Thomond Park game. Saturday sees the conventional Six Nations. I still don't understand why, if it's the Winter Olympics that's in Italy, why the France game has to move, but still Italy are playing Scotland and England play Wales. How do you think they'll go?
I mean, as much as I would love Wales to surprise England, I can't see that being anything other than a comfortable England win. I think Wales might be better this tournament than people necessarily think, if only because the bar has been set so low for them. This England team's looking pretty good, and I think they'll have enough to win comfortably. Scotland, Italy, for me, probably a little bit harder to call. I actually think Italy on home ground, very difficult team to beat these days. But Scotland, do have that very exciting back line, and Italy are dealing with a very long injury list. I've seen quite a few people kind of talking about Italy's chances here, and I don't think it's necessarily understood kind of some of the players they're missing, the likes of Ange Capuozzo among them, and I do think that might end up costing them. I'd probably go for a narrow Scotland win. I wouldn't be too surprised if Italy do turn them over.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. And of course, that's a full slate of games on Saturday as well. In the evening, we've got the Wolf Puppies, the under 20s playing France. The only way is up for the boys after last season, but and it's not exactly the best start. France always have a great crop of under 20s every year, but we'll definitely be watching them. That's a good way to round up the weekend of Six Nations rugby. Okay, so it's back to our feature match. Hugo, head on the block time. How do you see it going in Paris?
I would love to say an Ireland win. I don't think it's going to happen, but equally, I don't think we're necessarily going to be blown away. I'm going by for France by maybe 7 or 8.
It's totally in my heart saying Ireland's going to win. I think I'm going to give away my super brew. Absolutely no basis in that whatsoever on form. But I'm just going to say it for the hell of it, for the rah rah of it all. But listen, no, that's definitely fair enough. But like I say, I just hope that we seem to come with a plan. I want to see that plan, and I want to see the guys going for it on the night. And once we start from there, we'll definitely have a shout. Okay, listen, we're going to leave it there, man. Thanks for joining us, Hugo. Hope to see you on soon.
Thanks very much, Jeff.
And thanks to you all for checking out our latest preview show. Be sure to enjoy the match wherever you are, and be sure to leave your thoughts on our Facebook page after the full-time whistle, and look for that wrap pod. We're not going to bring it up earlier. We're still going to record it on Sunday evening. Hopefully you'll help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Swan.